Kia ora everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Coaches. Now I know what you're all thinking. No, that's not John introducing it. So John's we're flipping the switch, and he's giving me the reins again. John's not feeling 100, he reckons. So we'll see how we can go. There's a bit of sickness going around the house, but I don't know whether it's related to that Warriors performance. I think I'm just going to put it on that, John. John,
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, how are you feeling, bro? Apart from the sickness, what you sort of have you come down from the disappointment of yesterday?
Oh, mate, yeah, nah, haven't been feeling too great today. Mainly because my family has been a bit ill, and it's been a bit of spewing up going on. So I haven't, but there's moments where I feel just a little bit nauseous. I thought, you know what, Richard, it's on you tonight. It's on you tonight. We bet on you, but no, I mean that would be a good excuse, wouldn't it? That would be a great excuse to say that I'm feeling like this because of what happened yesterday. Because it was like, and being a true, honest Warriors fan, it was quite appalling, especially that first half. It was quite appalling. It was quite embarrassing, to be honest. But there are some positives to take away, and we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, nah, yeah, I'm sort of calmed down after everything because I was pretty, livid at the time. So yeah, what about yourself?
That's the same, bro. Yeah, it was almost comedy in that first half, just sitting there and watching it,
Yeah,
and my wife was like, "Should we keep watching this or not?" But I wanted to put myself through it. Got to half time and I saw Hughes was off, so I thought, hey, you know what? I was in charge of the betting for the weekend with my syndicate. So we managed to get the Warriors plus 32.5 at about $12. So we had a nice little collect after on the back of that second half
nice.
performance. So I think that sort of eased the blow of the first half. It was great to see them sort of come out and not just absolutely capitulate like we've seen in the past. The amount of times we've seen the Warriors.
Yeah,
We touched on that 70-10 game a few years ago, and it kind of felt like it was going that way. But um, they did a lot better in the second half, especially with a few guys out. So we'll take what we can from that. But yeah, I mean, that first half, I mean, where do we start? What went wrong for you, the way you saw it, John?
I you know trying to think about it, at the time, and having a bit of a deeper think today when I could. Um, it was hard. It's hard to now nail everything down. Like, honestly, it was just trying to think because like I mentioned this in the video that we put up yesterday on our social channels. Is that they weren't actually doing that bad for the first 20 minutes. They were actually going, tit for tat with them, and they were regularly getting down their end. But again, the frustrating part for me was that there was no creativity. It felt like there was no plan on the last tackle. Like there was no plan whether it was to up and under or run it. It felt like they were just having playing by chance. Just having a chance, having a go at it, and it felt like it looked like it just looks like they're so unorganized in those last tackles. Like they don't know what to do, and for me that brought up questions about whether our halves combination are the real deal because it's our halves combination that make those calls and and set things up. And yeah, I don't know if it's actually working because it's not working with the kicking game and it's not working with what they're doing at the end as well. When if they're not kicking, so that was the biggest thing for me to ponder. I know there's a lot of things to ponder about this game, but that was a big thing for me is because we did manage to make it down their end a few times, and we just couldn't convert those plays into points. So for me, that's what's a big thing. It's a sign of worry for me that they can't convert those times up there in the opposition ends and convert them into points. So yeah, or another set, kicking to the end goal, another set. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I think I messaged you about 25 minutes into the game, and I think we were down 18-0 at the time, but I said we're not even playing that badly, but we just
yeah,
our kicking game was just nothing, and then every time they got the ball, they were just I mean, they're a good team, and
yeah,
like it was disappointing for the Warriors, but like I mean, hats off to the Storm. They were just far too good in that first half. Yeah, I mean Hughes had injured himself pretty early in the game, but he managed to sort of play through. He kicked that 40-20, and that 40-20 was quite that was a bit of a turning point in itself. Like I think it was only 6-0 at that point, and they scored straight off that set. They were just scoring some easy tries up the middle. Our middle defence was just bad. And I
yeah,
think Mitch Barnett talked about at the end. Some of the young guys came on. The likes of Leka Halasima, Dimitri
yeah,
Varmolga. They came on the second half and just
yeah,
yeah, like made it a bit more the defense a bit more solid in the middle. But
Yeah.
the damage was done there. What did you sort of? There's been a few bit of talk about Fisher Harris going down early. Do you think that injury sort of slowed? Are you making that excuse or
Nah,
no?
nah. I mean, like we all know the quality of the player he is, but I don't think whether he was on the field or not, I don't think it would have made a big difference. I think that if you look at the Storm's tries that they scored, it was just through clinical football. It wasn't actually razzle dazzle. It was just get the ball, shift it to the wing, straighten up, draw your man in, pass the ball, and they had gaps. And also, they were just offloading the ball too much, and they were getting easy meters upfield from offloading the ball. There were so many offloads it wasn't funny, and I thought the Warriors would have learned their lesson. From the previous games where the teams are just offloading them, and then they run them ragged, and then it takes a lot out of you. And then you can see in the Warriors' defense, even when we would tackle them on their last tackle, they would kick the ball down. But by the time the third play, was up the field, we still had players still on the Storm side, coming back because they were just out of gas. And that's what happens when that sort of stuff happens. So like you said, Mitch Barnett said, the young guys taught us, a thing about tackling, and we've got to be better at that because not only were they missing tackles, they weren't completing them because the opposition were able to offload the ball. So that was a real frustrating part for me as well. The fact that they were just able to do the simple things and do them well, and you mentioned Jerome Hughes, for example. It just shows you how much you need a good half in your team. Not only a good half that knows how to kick, knows how to direct the play, knows how to attack the ball. They can do all that. Whereas, and I think we are lacking in that area, to be honest. So he comes off second half, big difference. And I think that shows. I think that's a big Jerome Hughes factor because previous games for the Storm, they've lost some. They lost some games, lost to the Dragons as well. He wasn't there, but it just shows you inject someone like him in there, a decent half, things change for you. So yeah, that's I think what we're missing is a decent half. And I'm being honest with you. I'm gonna back Luke Metcalf to come well, but my question is, is he the right number? Is he the right person for the 7 jersey? That's what I'm trying to say. Or is he the right person to be leading the plays? Because I think that maybe it's just a I don't know. I don't know if it's just a bit of an overload. It's just an overload on him at the moment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't talk to Luke Metcalf, so I don't know. But it just seems that way. It just seems that he's got so much on his mind that he can't, do what he wants to do on the field because he's got too much going on his mind and wants to attack as well. Because there are many times on the fourth tackle, etc., he actually ran the ball, which is I don't have a problem with him running the ball, but then the only other option to kick the ball in the last tackle was Harris Tavita, and he doesn't really. All he does is put up and unders, really, nothing more. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
but I think we've shown that there's a bit more, kicking elsewhere. You saw Aaron Clark had a nice little kick through on,
yep,
nearly set up Valmalga, so that would have been nice to see. So he's sort
yeah,
of really fulfilling that void left by the likes of Dylan Walker and Tohu Harris there. So
yeah,
there wasn't too many shining lights, but I think Aaron Clark in particular on his 100th game, I'll give him a shout out because I thought he was one of the best on the
oh,
on the field for the Warriors.
he was brilliant.
Again, we've
Mm,
both shouted him out a few weeks in a row now. So yeah, just it's nice to, even though it wasn't great, it was good to see there was still a few positives there. Rocco Berry had a bit of a sort of a mixed sort of comeback, like
yep,
he it was great to see him. I mean, you talk a lot about the kick chase, and I feel like
yeah,
he's one who actually really commits to the kick chase. And there was a few,
yeah,
two or three times I remember seeing where he was sort of really leading the charge there and
yeah,
got Pappenhausen early and didn't let him sort of wind up. But obviously, the game obviously he's probably going to miss. I think this week and maybe even next week with suspension.
suspension. Yeah, I think he's out. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, what were did you like what you saw from Rocco Berry, or do you think once everyone's fit, are you questioning his spot on the starting
nah,
17?
nah. Mixed thoughts. I mean, it's his first game back. I know he's had a couple of reserve grade games as well, but I still think he's a champion player. And yes, he didn't have the greatest game, but look, who did in the Warriors team? Who did? I mean, you can point out guys like Aaron Clark and say Aaron Clark was amazing. I thought he was brilliant. But he was one of the solo lights out there. There was hardly anyone that really did really well. I thought the young guys that came on in the second half were brilliant as well, and it's got me thinking. Does the change need to be made? And I think I mean we can talk about this a little bit later on, but I just think that Webby needs to do something with. He needs to look inside himself, to be honest, because he's reluctant to change. He's reluctant to make changes. He's sticking with a process that's not working. So I don't know how long you can keep doing that. It's not just about the tactics in the field. It's the personnel that's on the field as well. I mean, for example, you had Tanner Boyd with Chance's HIA. He was out for the game. Um, I'm pretty sure he was his spot. He was the 18th man. Was he activated during the game? Was that activated during the game? I'm
Nah,
pretty sure he.
it can only be activated if it's foul play.
Yeah, but I thought, yeah, I get that. I thought I saw someone say or someone mention on the game he's been activated. So I was wondering. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I heard it
Uh,
wrong, but yeah, because I
it
was
definitely
going to say
wasn't.
why is he not on the field? In a losing cause. But yeah, maybe I'm the one that heard it wrong. So because I heard someone say that in
Because
on
if you
yeah
did that, you could put you could put Harris Tavita at the back or something. Like he's obviously played
yeah
a bit of fullback in his time and all that. He's probably the most versatile of those three halves. But yeah, I mean, would have been nice if it was foul play because it would have been great to sort of shore up that back line a little bit. It was it was one of those games just trying to figure out who was playing where by the end. Like once Chance
yeah
was off, it was obviously Tane went to the back and Rockaberry was down the wing. I think Kate Bell was playing the centres. So
yeah
yeah, I mean kudos to the boys for sort of managing to bring it all together in the second half. But there was a few moments, especially that Storm try in the second half, where we just saw what could happen. They got the ball out to Coates, and he just he was just out. We were outnumbered and outplayed, and he just bullfighted his way through.
yeah.
Tuapiki hardly even tried to tackle him. Um, also, were you happy to see Tuapiki get a bit of a go at fullback? I thought that it was a bit of a mixed bag, but I think on the
Yeah,
whole he adds a lot of energy there.
he
I
does.
did
Yeah.
want to. I mean, we'll probably talk about selections going forward, but I just quickly was wondering your thoughts on whether you think he might be at the back this week or whether there's more value in keeping him on the wing.
Nah, fullback, because that's the spot. He's only on the wing because of injury. We all know that. What I mean, I know they could bring Kossi in as well, but we know how valuable he is. That's why he's still there. But his spot is fullback. That's where he's best at, and I think that's where he'll stay. I'm assuming that because now they're gonna replace Rocco in the centres, and they're gonna replace Tuapiki now. I'm assuming that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna go to fullback, but so I'm assuming Kossi will come in, but no, I think everyone just had a mixed game, a mixed bag of game. He's usually pretty good to a picky, and he's allowed to have, not the greatest game sometimes. But I don't think it was that bad. I just think the whole team didn't really gel together. It was just, it wasn't. There's not. I'm really lost for words, to be honest, about that performance because it just seemed so. It was just the first half. I couldn't believe it, how easily the Storm were just going up the field and scoring with ease. 36-0 at half time could have been much more worse. When Metcalf did that awesome try save around the corner there, it could have been a lot more worse. Yeah, yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to describe it. I mentioned in the video yesterday that when you're a Warriors fan, for frustration always follows you. It's always going to happen when you're a Warriors fan. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, and that's just another one. Just especially against the Storm, because it's like we go there and we know we No, we go on there with belief, but we just come out on the bad end of some some big hidings. I know last year we did pretty good, we were close and stuff, but we still weren't winning the games. And yeah, so it's a hard one to talk about. It's hard because there's just so many areas you can pinpoint, say this, and this, and this, and this. But yeah, it's a hard one.
Well, we might as well just try get some positives out of the game.
Yeah,
We'll go
fair
into
enough.
the WLEMs just quickly because I want to I've sort of mentioned a few names here and there. You've mentioned there was a bit of a mixed bag for most guys, but we'll hand out our points for the week.
Yeah,
and see whether Wade can extend his lead or whether someone else can pop up there. So I'm happy to start us off. So
Go
for
for it,
those
man.
who haven't listened to us before, we have our Wally M's. So it's our version of the Jelly M's, but just for the Warriors games. And often when defeats like this happen, John, you're not that keen to even give the rewards out because no one deserves them. But we'll give it out today regardless. And my 3 points goes to I
Yep.
shouted him out before, but Aaron Clark. So yeah, I thought he was
Yep.
best on park, 100 NRL games. It's a shame the boys couldn't put on more performance for him, but from what I saw, I thought
Yeah.
he had the most effort out of any of the players there. Had that little kick, nearly set up Valmolga for that try. 5 tackle
Yep.
breaks, 31 tackles, 14 runs for 129 metres. So just a really good all-round performance. And that 13 jersey is well and truly his now. 2 to
Yeah.
Leka Halasima. I thought he had another great game, another try. Good to see. I don't know about the celebration when you're down
Yeah. No. Yeah.
36-6 or whatever the score was at the time, but I think he was just happy to be there. It sort of reminded me of there's some of these other second rowers in the games that get these, they sort of dive up above everyone. So it's awesome to see that he's got that element to his game. So yeah, two
Yeah.
points for him. First try, 54 metres, 6 runs, 14 tackles. Probably could have been brought on earlier. I thought,
Yep.
I don't think he didn't come on till early in the second half, and why you wouldn't try something different when you're down sort of 18, 24, 30 nil. Not quite sure, but he, as Mitch Barnett sort of mentioned, the young guys, they taught them how to tackle, and he was one of them. And I gave one to Ali Lautoa. I thought he had another pretty good game considering. Looked the most hungry of the backs, and plenty of meters. Defensively was pretty sound as well. So yeah, that's my 3-2-1. Who you got for us, John?
Very, very similar to mine. Honestly, my 3 points goes to Aaron Clark, and I mean, you just gave him the shout out and all the stats, etc. and things. So I just thought he was brilliant on the day. In a losing cause, he always still brought the energy. He brought the energy, and he ran at pace. He took the hit ups at pace as well. His tackling was awesome. So I just thought he had an immense game, and I just hope he can continue that for the season. 'Cause that's what we need. Um, it'll be good to. I mean, I don't know if I see him as a playmaker 13, but he's doing good enough for what he's doing right now. But yeah, so Aaron Clark 3 points for me. I had Leka Halasima for 2 points as well. I just think he's just every game he's growing and growing and maturing, and I just think honestly it's time for him to earn it, to be injected into the starting lineup. That's and we can talk about that a bit later, but I think that's how awesome he's going. I don't think, like you said, maybe brought on a bit too late. I think they need to change it. This is what I meant before when I was saying about Webster needs to change something here, not just about personnel, but also tactics and here because it's not working. I don't think we may have won 3 games personally, but previously, sorry, but yeah, I don't think the tactics are still working. And my 1 point, Dimitri, I thought he, another one that came on and did well and just hit the ball up. And again, Mitch Barnett said it himself, they did an awesome job, especially defensively, and it shows, the fact that the Storm were only able to score 1 try in the second half, where we scored 3. So yeah, I think that he deserves 1 point there because I couldn't really think of anyone else to be honest in that team that deserved any points. So
Yeah,
those are my points. But Aaron Clark and Halasima are definitely my 2 standouts for the game. Like easy standouts for the game.
yeah. It's nice to see
Yeah,
some of this fresh blood. Obviously Aaron Clark's been around for a while, but he's obviously a fresh warrior as well. So it's good to see this sort of next generation of these warriors coming through and really making their mark and
yeah,
asking some questions because there's some guys in there, in that starting lineup that might be a little bit concerned about their positions, but we'll see what happens. Um, I mean, do we need to sort of delve any more into that game? It was obviously disappointing first half, um, a better performance in the second half, just issues all around the park. You got I think the defense in the middle I was really worried about. I mean, I
yeah,
think I did mention before about James Harris, and I think him sort of leaving so early messed with the rotations. When you got the likes of King and Laurie, Sean Laurie, Sean, is it
yeah,
Sean Laurie? Yeah, Laurie. you got those guys scoring easy tries in the middle with hardly even been tackled. So I just think, yeah, that Fisher Harris going out just threw them all off. No excuses at all.
Yeah,
So hopefully this week they'll be defending and ensuring that, because with the likes of this Broncos team we're playing this week, Payne Haas and Peter Carrigan guys, these big boys love an offload. So I still have nightmares about that. That preliminary final in 2023 we played against the Broncos, and they
yeah,
just offloaded us. So hopefully we've learnt from then.
yeah.
But I suppose the question is changes for this week. There's obviously going to be three. You'd imagine three definites. I don't think Fisher Harris will be playing. Chance won't be playing, and obviously
Very.
Rocco Berry's out for a week or two. So starting at the back, so you want to see your boy Tane there, do you?
I want Tuapiki to be there. I think he will be. He's. I mean, that's an automatic selection. You know what I mean? If Chance is out at fullback, they put him in there. I think it's an automatic selection. I don't think who else would you put there? To play fullback. You have Roger, but Roger's not playing. He's injured at the moment. So
Um,
name me someone that would be ahead of Tuapiki at fullback.
I don't know about ahead, but if they want to keep Tuapiki on the wing, keep him growing there, because he's still going to be there for another 3 or 4 weeks. I wouldn't mind seeing Tamari Martin get a shot.
Hmm.
He
That's
had
true.
to
Yeah.
go on one of the trial games, and he looked electric when he was back there. I think it was in that Storm game, and it'd be a good opportunity to get him back in the first grade and see what he can do. I'm sure we've talked about how he's sort of he's in form in the New South Wales Cup, obviously playing in the halves,
Yeah.
but that would be my yeah, I think that would be the only other option at the back that makes sense. I don't think Kossi's played there at all, and I wouldn't want to see Kossi. He was
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
Kossi was great against the Tigers, but I'm more than happy to see him back on the wing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think between Tuapiki, but yeah, I would really like to see Tamari Martin get a run at fullback this
Well,
week.
how do you feel? How do you think Tamari Martin's feeling it right now? Because he hasn't had a chance at first grade. For the season, he's been in New South Wales Cup, and we know how awesome he is, and he's doing really well, like you said, in New South Wales Cup. But then you've got Tanner Boyd, who gets picked ahead of him, for the Storm to be the 18th man. So how do you think he's feeling right now? Is he feeling like, okay, I'm not, there are people ahead of me. I'm not going to get another first grade game, because he's come out saying that, no, I'm here to the end of the year. My contract runs out of the year. I'm not going anywhere, because all those rumors with the Lee Leopards, trying to bring him over to Super League, etc. But how do you think he's feeling right now? Because, it's when you're there, all of a sudden you're thinking like, okay, I'm the next guy, off the rank to be up there. But then you got Tanner Boy that just takes over him. So how do you think he's
Oh,
feeling?
I mean, yeah, he's said he's staying, so
Yeah,
he's shown that he's committed to the club. Hopefully, the club can sort of give him that sort of you know repay that faith, I suppose. I don't think that he would think that it's his last game. I mean, he knows what the NRL is like. He knows he's a good player. He's playing some good footy, and that he offers a lot, whether that be in the halves, whether that be at fullback, or even off the bench. He could add a heap as a utility player as well. So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, you'd be a little bit bummed that Boyd's sort of come into the 18th man, but
yeah.
when he was signed, he knew that it was always going to be a bit of a competition, and although
But he's,
Tamari Martin he's had his chances in the halves last year. It was when he was halfback, was when he was just unstoppable, and then when
yeah,
when Sean Johnson came back and went to six, he just couldn't quite sort of have that same magic. So maybe if he's out of the halves completely, chuck him at the back, he can just do his magic. He's got, obviously a good kicking game. He's got really good vision. He's fast and slippery. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah. The more I think about it, the more I really want to see him play this week. Actually,
yeah. He's too good to leave out. You know what I mean? He's too good of a player to leave out. I can't speak for every other club, but obviously, if he was in some other side, I'm sure he would be in that 17 mix, or at least 18th man. Yeah, but for us, he's down. He's way down the picking order, going on what happened on Sunday, and he's just too good to leave out. And this is why I keep thinking. This is why I'm saying, Webster needs to go back to the drawing board here, because he's got a halves pair who we saying that this is our halves pair, we're backing them and stuff. But then whether the halves pair are doing great or not, even if you said they're not doing that bad, but that's not good in the NRL. If you say they're not doing that bad, that's not good enough in the NRL. Your halves pairing have to be outstanding. That's the only way you can actually go do well in the NRL. You can't just have a saying, "Oh, they're doing all right." That's not good enough. You know what I mean? The Metcalf is showing us some glimpses of what he's got, his talent. But I haven't really seen anything from Harris Tavita, to be honest. I haven't seen that much. He's put a few kicks up, where we've contested the ball, which is a rare thing for the Warriors, and he caught the ball and he put one up and caught one up himself and scored a try. But other than that, it's about game management and stuff, with the halves and stuff and running the ball. I don't really see much from him. And again, it's not a dig at Harris Tavita. It's just saying that I just think we've got players that probably would be better suited for those roles. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not really on the same page there. I've
Fair enough.
probably liked him, been more impressed with him than Metcalf. I think Metcalf's got a lot of praise, but I feel like Harris Tavita's been solid. He's probably there's probably been more happening on the left edge than the right edge so far. I get that Metcalf's just still figuring out the 7 jersey, but I'm still yeah. I mean, I think they're both clearly sixes, aren't they? Like neither of them's sort of put their hand up to say they're halfback. So and what are we
Yeah.
five games in now? So it's still it's still early in the season, but you really want to when you've got the likes of Tamari Martin and Tana Boyd there who we know are both more than capable of playing halfback. It'll be interesting to see if another one of them does get a chance this weekend. And there's a few situations where that could happen with whether they you could even put you could put Harris Tavita, as I mentioned before. He's played a bit of fullback as well, so you could put him at the back and then bring Boyd in at 7 and move Metcalf back to 6. They've got the options
Yep.
for the utility, but
But I wouldn't be putting Harris Tavita. Me personally, I wouldn't be putting Harris Tavita at
oh
fullback.
mate, he played the best game he's played for the Warriors was the homecoming game against the Tigers back in 2023 when the Warriors returned to the Fortress Mount Smart Stadium. He had an absolute
Yeah.
blinder at the back.
Yeah. It's a
So
long time ago, mate. But yeah.
I always remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's obviously the options at the back there. So you're going to a picky, are you? You're
Yep.
sticking to a picky after the chat?
I
Okay,
am. I am.
I'll go Tamara Martin with Harris Tavita as a backup there. I suppose just the problem with what you're saying with putting to a picky at the back, just say hypothetically they do that,
Yeah.
we're so short on outside
Yeah.
backs.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
Who are you putting in your centres and your wings if
Yeah.
that's happening?
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you asked me the question, because my mind is always thinking Tuapiki should be the fullback. But when you put it that way, when we're really short on outside backs, and we've not only is Roger out, we've got Dallin out as well, and now with Rocco out,
Gary?
yeah, Pompey's probably the one more suited to go into the centres. So yeah, I mean, it's a good point you make. Like if you had to choose, like you wouldn't put Tamari Martin on the wing, would you? You'd put, you wouldn't do that. So yeah, that is a good point. I admit it's a good point. But if that was the case, if they're running low on on the talent there, I think we Tamari Martin would be better suited at fullback than wing. But I would still at the moment put Tuapiki there.
Other option is Morgan Harper. Obviously, he's been playing New South Wales Cup, so he's
Yeah.
played both centre and wing this time. And then there's obviously the option of putting Capewell or
Oh, I was going to say
Nuakori out
that.
there. But I
Yeah, I was
don't
going to say.
really.
Yeah.
I'd rather not see that.
Mm.
I'd rather be able to use. It's handy to have them there in a game when we get
Yeah.
injuries, but I don't want to see those guys starting in the centres. So.
Yeah.
But I suppose you
But
could maybe give Halasima a go and see what happens. That could be fun.
well, I mean, why not? I think he's better as a forward, obviously, because he will get more his hands on the ball more, going through the middle and stuff, and that's where we want him because he's actually doing a great job, with his hit ups, etc. But I mean, he showed what he can do on that edge as well. So which is why I'm thinking he look, I'm a big fan of Kurt Capewell, as you know, I've always been a big fan of Kurt Capewell, but I just think on current form, Halasima deserves to be there and his taking his spot. That's what I would do, honestly. And I'd have Capewell on the bench. I would. I'll still have Capewell on the bench, but I just think Lasima deserves to be there. And people can say, oh, no, no, no. I've heard people say, nah, this is an argument that people have been saying on social media, but people say, no, he brings the energy from the bench, but he brings the energy in the 50th minute. That's when, he brings the energy too late. And that's where I think, because we could talk about who should play where all day long. You and I can do that all day long. The fans can do that all day long. But it's also about how you manage the players on the field, the times when they go on, when they go on, etc. And I think, honestly, Andrew Whips has got it wrong. Him and his coaching staff have got it all wrong. And, it's easy to say that, when you're a couch coach. Totally easy to say that, but I think that, just watching the games, having watched so many games before and stuff, there's a lot of things that are not working, that are not clicking together, but he's still adamant sticking with them. And people can say, you can always say, oh, we're only 6 rounds in, but you can't really always use that as an excuse, because that's the whole point of trials. That's the whole point of trials games and stuff, etc. To get ready for the season and get your best 13 that's available, um, ready for those games. So I honestly think that they need to go back to the drawing board and sort out some stuff, not just with tactics, but also about position, and when they bring on players. There's a lot of things they need to do from the coaching box that needs to change in terms of the tactics. That's what I believe.
No, we don't have too long to fix it, so hopefully they'll be able to
Yep.
work on a few things there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the middle there. With Fisher Harris out. I will just say, like, while we're talking through the
Yep.
changes,
Yep.
I've obviously got Marimana at the back. I've got Pompey moving back in the centres with Leotoa, and I've got Tuapiki and Kossi will come back on the wings there.
Yeah. Fair
Obviously,
enough.
I imagine the halves will stay the same, but as I
Yep.
said before, wouldn't mind see Tana Boy get a go, and then
Yep.
maybe Metcalf back to 6 and Harris Tavita either maybe off the bench interchange or 18th man. But yeah, in the middle with James Fisher Harris out, and could be Peck's the niggly ones, and I don't think it's been official how long he's out for, but it implies that it could be a few weeks. And it's probably a
Could be
position
months.
where,
Yeah.
well, could be, I think I've seen up to sort of 8 weeks
Yeah.
predicted, which is not great. And I
No.
think we did see sort of he's obviously co-captain, but he's a silent leader, but he does a lot of work in the middle, like a lot of the dirty work. He's obviously a very different player to what Fanua Blake was. I'm just, I'm not sure who they're going to bring in here. I
Yeah.
did see a suggestion of bringing Nuakure bit in, into
The
there
front
that
row. Yeah.
frees up the spot for Halasima probably or Vamaga, the second row. Obviously Jackson Ford's been coming and sort of big part of the rotation. I really like what he's bringing off the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked before about Halasima and the energy off the bench is different. So I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that. And then you've obviously got Bunty Afoa as well, who's had a couple of
Yeah.
games. The most clear kind of a back rower, I suppose. I'm a front rower, sorry. So he'd be
Yeah.
the in my eyes the most clear person to start. But I don't know who of those guys, or have you got any other wild cards to sort of come in and
Nah.
start in the middle there?
Not starting,
Front
but I
row.
would like to see Healy get a go as well. Like, you and I, we can throw all these names out all day long, but in reality, they've been really reluctant to change things. So they've only been changing players when it's forced. You know what I mean? When it's forced. So, but I like the idea of maybe Nukure staying, starting at prop, and then in the front row, and then bringing Halasima to take his spot. I actually don't think that's a bad idea at all. Don't think it's a bad idea at all. But I mean, knowing Webby in terms of how he's been going, I don't know. For some reason, I have a feeling he'll put Jackson Ford into the front row starting. I don't know why, but I just have a feeling he'll do that. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's the right move. But I think for some reason I have a feeling he'll do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised. And it's kind
yeah,
of it's sort of because Barnett's obviously come from being a second rower, sort of moved into a front row spot, and I still I mean he's a great player, but he's not as good as he was last year. I think last
yeah,
year was when he was playing the second row was when he was really at his best. Where we were, singing his praises. He got all the accolades last year he could get.
Yep.
So, yeah, to have sort of like two converted second rowers both playing front row,
Yeah.
I worry that we might, miss a bit of size and a bit of um, just that muscle up the front that the likes of Fisher Harris bring. But like I really wish that Bunty like he hasn't been bad, but I wish he'd done more for me to be like confidently be like I want to see him start, but
Yeah.
I just haven't quite like in the trials he looked great and he looked fit, but he hasn't kind of thing. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was sort of someone was throwing it out there as a wild card, but the more I think about this new Corey one, I don't mind that one at all, to be
Yeah. I don't
honest.
mind it either. I don't
And
mind it
it just
either.
frees up one of those spots for
Yeah.
Halasima because the people are calling for Halasima to get in there.
Yep,
He can't.
I'm one of them. I'm on that bandwagon. I'm on that definitely on that bandwagon to see Halasima getting a starting spot and not be injected into the game so late into the game, so late into the piece. I think that he deserves a spot, and and this could be an opportunity to do that and see how he goes. Right, it could be a good opportunity to see that. Why not take that opportunity to see how he goes starting the game? To be honest with you, bro, I would really just want to see a change in the halves. I don't know how that would look. I just want something changed. I don't think that we are gonna do any good on this, with this here halves pairing. Not saying that they're both bad, but I just think that maybe out of position is what they're playing out of position, and maybe someone will have be more wiser in terms of game management. Maybe Tanner Boyd or Tamade Martin at 7. You know what I mean? Someone that's just got more game management wisdom there. I think that would be better for the game for the team.
Sweet. Well, I think
Yeah.
we've solved the world's issues there, John. I think Andrew Webster will be happy when he gets sent the audio of this recording, and all his selection changes will be sorted. We've obviously got a game this weekend, Saturday night against
The old
the
ponies.
Broncos. Yeah, the Ponies are playing away from
Mm.
Suncorp for once in their lives. It's
It's a rare
unbelievable.
treat. Mm.
Yeah, and they're coming off a pretty disappointing loss as well to the Sydney Roosters. I don't know if you stayed to that game, but that was an absolute barnstormer. A great round on the whole, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we've sort of talked about a few of the positional changes. I mean, yeah, giving us a shot against this pretty inconsistent Broncos team.
I think so. I mean, okay, let me say it this way. If we make some specific changes, like we were talking about, like in the halves, etc., if we make some specific changes, I think we'll be fine. And and the reason why I say that is just stemming from Magic Round last year when we were out with so many players and we still beat the Panthers, who ended up winning the competition. They were still a hot Panthers team at the time, and we were able to beat them with our young guns there and stuff. And I think Tamade Martin was the halfback, etc. So I just think that if we get the right people in the right positions, we'll be fine. But that comes down to whether they get selected or not. So that's why we've been going on and on about it right now. But we can go on about who we pick, but in the end of the day, will we do it? So I think that's why I keep going on and saying that he needs to go back to the drawing board and reconsider how he's doing things in terms of selections. But in answer to your question, I do think we can do it. The Broncos haven't looked the greatest. Reece Walsh has been out of sorts. He's been out of sorts, and that's pretty unusual for him because he's the one that usually lights up the game. But I read a comment from someone over in Australia where I think I don't know if it was Gordon Tallis or someone else, but they said that he's just trying too hard to do things right instead of just letting him play his natural game. He's trying to do the basics right, and that's it's throwing him back a bit.
Mm.
So yeah, so hopefully that can continue for our sakes. But I
I'm
still think
always.
we can do it. Yeah, I mean the Broncos should be pretty spooked playing at Go Media Stadium because they don't really get out of Suncorp much at all. I mean, getting on a plane to come to New Zealand, that's probably got them giving them the jeebus. They're pretty scared. What the heck's going on?
It's
Yeah,
probably a lot like more than they're going to travel for the rest of the season, to be honest.
yeah,
The amount of home games they seem to be able to sort of pull out of their heads at Suncorp, it's becoming ridiculous. I'm
yeah,
with you there, bro. I'm not jumping off the wagon after that sort of
yeah,
disappointing first half. That's for sure. I think the
yeah,
Broncos have been far from that. Far from what sort of I expected from them this year. They started the
yeah,
season well, but they're sort of the thing that's probably working against us is that they seem to have a good game and a bad game, and a good game and a bad game. So they've had their bad game last week, so hopefully they can
Yeah.
have another one this week. But I think the Warriors they'll be stoked to get back to Mount Smart. It sold out about a week or two ago already, I think. So
Yep.
um, yeah, kudos to the faithful up in Auckland. And we need to get up for a game, I reckon, bro. We should organise a trip up there.
I think I think
A
we
business
do.
a business trip,
Yep.
go stay at Sky City and have a few bourbons.
Yep. Sounds good.
Um, but yeah, no, I like the Warriors this week. I think
Yeah.
they'll know what they need to do better. They'll know that and maybe there's as you said, like we've sort of talked about these changes a lot. I know, but I think maybe these changes will be good. There could be a few guys who get a shot that wouldn't usually, and that always
Yep.
seems to end up well. So
You know,
up the wires this weekend.
or it could be a kind of a blessing in disguise. Where they're making forced changes. They're not changes because of form, or even though you wouldn't go against it if they were changes on form. But these are forced changes that are going to be made this week, and it'll be interesting because Webby doesn't seem to go make outrageous changes. He doesn't seem to unless it's forced, and that's why I'm not holding my breath when it comes to his changes, or what I would like to see and what most people would like to see. But yeah, I still think they can do the job, and let's just see. I mean, one of the things I'm actually looking forward to in the game is Sean Johnson standing in a Broncos jersey. Apparently, he lost a bet on his podcast, and the bet was that he has to wear a Broncos jersey at the game, stand in the front of the crowd, and start chanting out the Broncos in front of everybody. And I remember last week watching the Broncos game in the post match. Sean Johnson was on the panel, the Fox panel, and they were like interviewing players, and one of them was Reece Walsh, and Reece Walsh said at the end, looking forward to seeing Sean Johnson in the Broncos jersey. So the news has spread. So I think would definitely have to they'll definitely have to pinpoint where he's sitting and make sure they get that on there. But just I mean, this is just might as well just say this for 30 seconds. Usually, for the fact that you and I work in comms and media and stuff like that, and when you see all these players, former players, that just go straight into these kind of roles, after they've retired, and it's just like, what about the people they actually studied for? There's that sort of stuff. But he's actually not doing that bad. I've seen him on the panel a couple of times, and he seems to be just a genuine natural, behind the mic. So good on him. There are some, because as you know, and I know people listening, I'm sure people will agree with me. There are some awful, awful commentators out there who are former players that just don't know what they're doing, But they still, because of their name, they're on there. But Sean Johnson, I think he's actually quite a natural at what he's doing. So we'll put that in there.
I hope you're not talking about Blocker Roach, John.
Oh, he's up there.
Don't
I think he's the
disrespect.
most. I think he's the most hated from commentator by
Don't
Warriors
don't
fans. Don't you think?
don't disrespect Blocker. You
I'm
gotta
not
love a bit of
disrespecting
Blocker.
him. I'm just hearing a lot of. I just hear. I mean, it's a common comment when you see. Oh, does he have to commentate on our games? So just a
What's
state
probably
of
not.
fact.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got your Jonathan Thurston that got into a bit of hot water on Friday night as well. I don't know if you followed that
Yeah.
saga with Spencer Leniu, but who knows what was said there. Obviously, it dated back to Leniu's comments in Vegas last year and how he got his ban, and Leniu obviously hasn't let it go. He just seems like a real hothead, like maybe he just needs to sort of, he obviously
Yeah.
did his time, but yeah, to sort of go after someone like Thurston. I'm a New South Wales supporter, and even I love Thurston, so
Yeah, I
it'd be
like Thurston
interesting.
too, but I can understand Spencer's side as well, because it's. I mean, you're allowed to have an opinion, and that's what Jonathan Thurston did. He thought that his punishment wasn't big enough. It was 8 weeks, should have been 12. That's what he was saying, and Spencer obviously took that to heart, and hasn't forgotten about it. And so when the moment came when obviously Thurston wanted to interview him, because that's just what he does for his job, he just took it to heart and said, "Why don't come up to me and be all like where everything's all good." So I mean, you can understand where Spencer's coming from, but at the same time, I'm a big fan of Jonathan Thurston too. So yeah,
Yeah, it's just obviously a big hothead and just
yep,
can't
for
quite
sure,
keep his. And you see it on the field, every time something happens, he brings a lot of energy.
yeah,
So yeah, I
definitely,
just quite yeah. I mean, and Thurston's a good
yeah,
example of someone who's yeah, followed that career, and I quite like Thurston as a commentator because he had some good insight, but he's also naturally just a very funny guy
Yeah, he is. His
and
laugh.
loves
That laugh, eh?
loves a laugh. And shout out to Cooper Cronk as well. I think Cooper Cronk is amazing. As just his analysis is so good. Every time he's on, I really enjoy hearing that. So
Yeah, there are some
um,
good ones out there.
yeah, oh no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Sean
Mm.
Johnson's done a good job. There's also the news today. I don't know if I think we just touched on it before, but Lockie Galvin, he got offered extension for the Tigers, but he's told the Tigers he'll be leaving at the end of 2026. It just seems a bit ridiculous to be making a call. It's 20 months, like
Yeah,
it's
I
18
agree.
months away that he's going to be going. Like, do you need to be making a decision now? Like, you can tell the club, but just keep it to
That,
yourself or
that,
something. Like, I don't, like,
yeah, I thought the same thing.
if, there's no way he's
I
staying
thought
till
the
the end
same
of
thing,
next
mate. Yeah,
season. There's no way he's staying till the end of next season. Like, you know
yeah,
what contracts like in the NRL these days. And it's a shame for the Tigers because they would be thinking, oh, we're finally getting things on track. We've got Luai, we've got Galvin, we've got
yeah,
Coruscant. Coruscant's like quite clearly just said no to the Cowboys. Just keep knocking at the door, and the Tigers have said,
yeah,
"There's no way that you're having, there's no
yeah.
way that
Good
he's
on them.
leaving under my watch," which is great, like so.
Yeah,
And they got May, Terrell May, Joey Buller at the back. He's
yep,
amazing. I really like watching him. So Tigers
yep,
definitely they've come a long way. But yeah, to get used like that, I just feel like it could be a bit of a distraction. Hopefully it's not for them. I hope they can sort of continue and get some
yeah,
wins and make a play for their eight. But I feel like there'll be a bit of distraction. There'll be a lot of noise around that decision, eh?
yeah. It came across as arrogant to me. To be honest, I'm with you. Like it was such an early call, and he's been being tabled an offer that's like the biggest one to a junior, in their history, in their club's history,
Mm.
and he's just automatically turned it down, thinking like, oh nah, I'm better. I think another better club is going to pick me up. Who? I mean, unless he's already got something lined up already, who's going to pick him up? It's not like he's anything. I mean, yes, he's
Oh
good
no,
and he's
I
young.
mean,
He's young and he's good, but I don't think he's anything. He's not a prodigal. He's not something.
I don't know, man. He's pretty damn good. He
I
could
think
be.
I think he's
Not.
good, but I don't think he's
I
worth
don't think there's one club,
turning down a. Yeah.
one club that would say, there's I don't think there's one club that would say no to sign him.
Uh,
I suppose it's just it's what he's going to
that
be
was my
asking,
initial.
like I don't know
Yeah.
what. I know it was about a 5.5 million deal he turned down. I don't know. There must have been over 5 years, I imagine. So yeah, it's a lot of money.
Well, do you
But
think another club's going to offer him that kind of money?
oh, yes, definitely. When
Okay,
you
fair
talk about
enough.
halves, you talk about guys that can take you the whole
Yeah.
way and win your premierships. If you get get him behind a good pack with a good halfback or a good fullback, he'll probably I don't know whether he wants to play halfback or whether he's happy playing six, but yeah, maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he wants to play halfback and he can't see that happening with Luai there for the next few years. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but
Yeah. But I
best of
mean,
luck to him and
I
the
agree with
Tigers.
you that he's talented. I agree with you that he's talented, but it came across as arrogant to me. That's all. And
Oh yeah,
like
I
he's
mean,
doing it so early.
I, I, I was just like, why is this news if it's happening in 18 months' time?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens there. Sweet. Should we
Yeah.
do some quick tips and wrap up?
Yeah, mate. Go for it.
Thursday night, Manly versus the Dragons. Manly hosting the Dragons. The Dragons obviously had a win a few weeks ago, and they had a big win actually against the Titans last week. And Manly's really struggling without Tommy Turbo. They went bad against the Sharks, but they just couldn't quite finish it. Who you got
Mm.
there?
Um, oh, Dragons.
Over Manly.
Yeah.
Bulldogs, Rabbits. Doggies going 6-0.
That's a big game. Apparently, it's they're expecting 70,000 spectators at their game, which is quite massive.
It's the Easter, yeah, Good Friday, eh? They have it every year.
Yeah,
It's always a big game, eh?
yeah. Um, that's a hard one because I don't really rate the Bulldogs that much. I mean, I think they're good, but they're not. I don't think they're awesome. Um, I'm gonna go with the Rabbitohs. I'm gonna give them Give them this one. It's a hard one. It's a hard one because the Rabbitohs aren't, I think, anything special either. But yeah,
It's hard with no
yeah.
teams as well, like not knowing whether, who will be playing where for the
Oh,
Rabbit.
who's playing?
But
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll
It's a
go with
Monday
the
night
Hawk.
here, guys. So
I think
yeah,
I'll go 6-0. Um,
yeah.
Dolphins Storm. The Finns continue their hot run and go 3 in the trot.
You know, I'm expecting Hughes not to be in the side for Melbourne. I'm expecting him to be left out to recover,
Mm.
and that makes a big difference, as we've seen in previous games. When he's not there, the Storm was a different side.
Yeah, Tyler
But
Richard's a
I
pretty
still,
handy,
yeah,
handy backup,
he is,
though.
but he is, oh, and we've talked about him before how awesome he is, and but I still think that without Hughes, it's a very different side, and but I think they're on a good run at the moment, so I'd give it to the Storm.
Yeah, hard to
Yeah.
I disagree there. Wales Broncos. We both going the mighty Wales at home.
Yep.
Give us a margin.
1-12.
I'd love to get 13 bucks, but yeah, I'll just take
Yeah.
1-12. Roosters Panthers. Yeah, two teams who exactly on top of their game. Roosters coming off a win, and Panthers staring down the barrel of what is it now? 6 straight losses. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep. It's unlike the Panthers of we know, especially with Nathan Cleary still there. So I'm gonna give it to them, Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching the Panthers on Thursday night, and they look, yeah, Cleary's just too good for the rest of the team, and the guys around him just can't keep up with how good he is. So, hopefully they
Yeah.
can. I don't want to see them just completely capitulate. So we'll see what happens there. Titans Raiders on Sunday afternoon. Titans, yeah, at home. Raiders obviously in pretty good form. My beloved Raiders. I'm gonna
Yep.
back the Raiders with
Me
good
too.
confidence.
Yep.
Whereas the
Raiders.
Titans are looking like they're having a bit of a hard time. Knights,
Yep.
Sharks up next, Sunday night, Easter Sunday. Knights have scored 1 try in the last 160 minutes of footy. I think 2 tries in the last 3 games, so they're looking like they're in a bit of strife on attack. And the
Yeah.
Sharks looks close back to their best. So can the
Yeah.
Knights pull off something here?
Nah. Sharks. You got Phoenix Crossland playing at 7 at the moment, so they're just out of sorts. We're in positions as well. He's not a 7, so
No, he's
yeah.
not. And
Yeah.
Easter Monday, you got Tigers versus the Eels to finish it off. Tigers obviously looking pretty good after a good win over the Knights yesterday. And the Eels, yeah, it's going to be a long season for them, I think.
Yep. Yeah. Now I'll give it to the Tigers.
Yeah, same here. So that's another week of Couch Coaches. Got anything to add before we call it in, John?
Yeah. Well, look. Before we finish up, can I just ask you a question? And just make this like a 30-second answer. Like earlier in this episode, we were talking about HIA, inactivation of the 18th man. At the moment, it comes down to foul play, right? So, but do you think that's a bit unfair that if someone's is ruled out of the game, even if it wasn't foul play, that they should be able to activate the 18th man because the other player is either put on a report or something, but they still get to come back into the game, the opposition team. So, yeah, just a quick answer on what you think about that.
Yeah, I think that if a player's ruled out, but they should just be able to activate it from there. I don't see why
Yep.
it has to be foul play. Like, I mean, you've already only got 4 reserves. It's not like rugby union where you've got 8 reserves.
Yeah.
You got four players on the bench. I'm all for just activating that as soon as someone's ruled out.
Yeah, because it may not even be like foul play or intentional, but that player still gets to stay on there, and that player is knock someone else, give them a concussion. So I just think that for me, it's like, why does it have to be foul play to be able to activate the 18th man? I think it should be if the guy's ruled out, and it's like the opposition that's done it, even if it's not intentional, they should be able to activate the 18th man. So that's one question. The other last one, I mean, basically, I want to say, about the game of the Warriors. Where do you think we're still on track with the season? Because this game was supposed to be like the big test for the Warriors, going against the Storm. Even if we lost the game, it was still going to be is going to show us where we're at. You know, how we can handle the bigger teams, etc. Do you still think after this showing we're still, we're still okay? That we're still on track, or you know, things have to, major things have to change.
I think that if it happened against any other team, I'd be a bit more concerned.
Yeah,
I think that Storm team seem like they're quite clearly the best team in the comp. I know that the Bulldogs have the best record, but
yeah,
Bulldogs, like until they beat the Storm, um, um, uh, yeah, we'll see what happens. So yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but it was good that they could bounce back. The fact there was a few injury issues, and players being moved around, sort of,
yeah,
if we just had a full strength team for that whole game and that had happened, I'd be a bit more concerned. But it's not great, and there will be changes do have to be made, which we know from injuries and suspensions. So, um, I'm just looking forward to seeing how whoever gets a chance this week, how they stand up and give it their all.
yep. Fair enough. Nice answer.
Yeah, I think this week's game, if it happens this week, then I'll be concerned. I think
Yep, fair
if
enough.
we can bounce back this week, I think that'll be huge. And we do have a good record of bouncing back after pretty disappointing losses. So I'm
Yeah.
crossing my fingers for a big win for the mighty Warriors at the Fortress Mount Smart Stadium on Saturday
Yes.
night. I'll be watching on the couch, having a cold one. I'm sure you will be too, John.
Let's go. That's what's happening. If I
Yes.
can stay, healthy. If I can stay healthy.
Amen to
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. As always, if you haven't already, don't remember to don't remember to no, do remember to like and subscribe. Find us on Facebook or Instagram. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, most of the podcast platforms. Got any questions? Just flick us a DM. We might start doing ask the fans. Ask ask us anything sort of section. So yeah, flick through any questions you got, and thanks for listening. And we'll see you in another 7 days or so for another episode of the Couch Coaches. Go the Mighty Warriors!
Up the wires.
Choo-choo!